Jesus understands that it is not enough for me to finish this race, but it has got to be a case where I finish this race making sure I do all the right things, even if some of those things were not necessary for me to do. One thing about being called to be the example and set the precedent is that you usually, watch this, have to do things that, truth be told, you should not have to do. Lacey, they missed it, back that thing up. When you are called to be the example, when you are called to be the leader, when you are called to be the head of the house, there are times when you have to do things that, truth be told, other folks should be doing, but because others are learning from you and you know you are the leader, you got to do it anyway. Which means I'm tired of praying for everybody else. I need somebody to pray for me sometime. I'm tired of loving my enemies. I'm sick of my enemies. I want to go off on my enemies. I want to let my enemies know what's really happening around here, but I'm the leader and I gotta be the example. I want the folk that understand what I'm talking about. Take my mic up a little bit. Would you look at your neighbor real quick and just say, neighbor, I'm for real, pray for me, because I'm having a hard time around here, because I gotta forgive folk that been hurting me all my life. I gotta pray for folk that I know can't stand me. Y'all ain't talking. I gotta preach to folk that's gonna talk about me when service is over. Look at your neighbor and say, but that's the mantle I carry. That's the responsibility that's on my shoulders, because I realize that that's what leadership is all about. You see, everybody wants to be a leader, but everybody can't handle leadership, because when you are a leader, you got to carry folk when you need to be carried. You got to pray for folk when you need praying for. You got to encourage folk when you need encouraging yourself. But that's why I'm glad God will give me an anointing to when won't nobody else encourage me, I can lay my hands on my chest, stick my head up, and encourage myself. Don't high five your neighbor, but high five yourself and say, self, you gonna make it through this thing. Self, and you're gonna make it by yourself. Jesus understood. I gotta get out of here. Jesus understood that he was the example. Every now and then, because he was the example, there are some things that he had to do that he did not have to do, but he took the responsibility of doing it because he knew who he was doing it for couldn't do it themselves. Lacey said one more time, they got to catch that one. I said there are some things that Jesus had to do that he really did not have to do, but he knew he had to do it because he knew the folk that were looking at him couldn't do it themselves. See, God sent his son, his only begotten son, to die for my sins because I couldn't do it myself. I wasn't good enough to save me. I wasn't strong enough to deliver me. But I thank God that Jesus had the power to save me. I need somebody to give God a shot and say, Lord, thank you for doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. You loved me when I didn't love myself. You healed me when the doctors couldn't heal me. Somebody shout yes in the